Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host, Gersh1, and today we're going to be talking about how GW has laid out everything we need to know about how the Emperor will become a god. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40K lore videos every single day. And if you have any suggestions, please comment down below. If you enjoy our content, thank our patrons on Patreon. It's because of them that we can do this. Link in the description if you guys want to support us. But with all of that said, let's get into 40 facts on proof that the Emperor is becoming a god. To understand how Games Workshop has already revealed the lore we need to know in order to understand how the Emperor of Mankind will become a god, we must go 60 million years in the past to the galactic conflict known as the War in Heaven. This galaxy-spanning struggle had many complex phases, with so much information that we can talk about it for hours. But the parts crucial to the Emperor's ascension to godhood are simple. In the beginning, there were two opposing sides, the Necrontyr, which were a short-lived species of humanoid that ruled over a fractured galactic empire, and the Old Ones, a psychically powerful species of reptilian humanoids with a unified galactic empire. The War in Heaven began for a couple of reasons. The first was the Necrontyr's jealousy over the long lifespan of the Old Ones, who, as far as they could tell, had cracked the code of aging and were essentially immortal. The second reason was that the ruler of the Necrontyr, known as the Silent King, was using the war as a way to unify the many dynasties of the Necrontyr. Alone, the Necrontyr dynasties did not stand a chance against the Old Ones, because they possess a tremendous advantage. They created a system of warp tunnels, known now as the Webway, that allowed them to achieve faster-than-light travel. Severely outmaneuvered at almost every single battle zone, the Necrontyr had to ally themselves with a species of galactic parasites that fed on the suns of the galaxy. These godlike beings were known as the Catan. The bargain the Necrontyr and the Catan made is highly complex, and something we don't need to get into for the purpose of this video. What you do need to know is that out of the Alliance came the Necrons we know of today, and an arsenal of world-destroying weapons that tipped the scale of the war closer towards the Necrons. In response, the Old Ones used their superior knowledge of both psychic powers and biological engineering to create a series of warrior races to fight the Necrons. These warrior races were all psychically powerful, and under the leadership of the reptilian Old Ones, the warrior species numbered in the dozens, including the Krork, the Eldar, the Slann, the Hrud, the Jakero, and possibly even humans. But the important warrior race to focus on is the Eldar. The Eldar race was unique in that it was far more psychically powerful than any of the other races. They seemed to be favored by the Old Ones, as they were taught how to harness their psychic powers, and learned many of the secrets of the Old Ones. At this point, it's important to know that the Immaterium was not the chaotic demon-infested plane that it is in the 41st millennium. The warp was much calmer. There existed warp-born parasitic entities like the Enslavers, but the Chaos Gods did not have the same power that they do in today's day and age. This is why the Old Ones were able to create the Webway in the first place. While they were incredibly powerful psychers, the canvas in which they worked on was smoother than what it would become. The full detailed conclusion of the War in Heaven is also not important for the purpose of this video. What is important is that the psychic warrior races meant to destroy the Necrons were causing the Immaterium to become chaotic and dangerous because of the violence of the war. The growing psychic presence was also attracting warp parasites known as the Enslavers to invade real space in what would later become known as the Enslaver Plague. It was also important to recognize the bond that was developing between the Old Ones and the Eldar race. The Eldar knew that the immortal Old Ones were their designers. They had to have viewed their war against the Necrons as a war not just to defend themselves, but also a war to protect all life in the galaxy, a benevolent and honorable fight that was bestowed upon them by their creators and teachers. This can still be seen in the 41st millennium, as many craft worlds and exodite worlds stand vigil over Necron tomb worlds, always ready to fight their ancient rivals with more resolve than when fighting orcs or the Imperium. It's not hard to see how the Eldar might have viewed the Old Ones in the same manner as the Imperium viewing the Emperor of Mankind. Every reason the Imperium has to venerate the Emperor is shared with the ancient Eldar venerating the Old Ones. They both once walked amongst them as creators. The Emperor unified and created the Imperium of Man, and the Old Ones outright engineered the Eldar race. They both gave purpose and bestowed an honorable reason to wage war. The Emperor had the Great Crusade, and the Eldar had the War in Heaven. They both promised protection in life, with the Old Ones giving the Eldar the safety of the webway, and the Emperor giving the Imperium the Astronomicon. They both promised protection in death, with the Old Ones teaching the Eldar about the Spirit Stones, and the Emperor promising a spot in his Army of the Light once dead. They both even had written down faiths. The Imperium had the Imperial Creed, and the Eldar had the Eldar mythology. It is in the mythology of the Eldar where the veneration of the Old Ones can be found. The Eldar worshipped a pantheon of gods that in the beginning walked amongst them, teaching them and leading them just like the Old Ones walked amongst the Eldar. The myth creates a story that one day Lilith, the maiden goddess of dreams, dreamt that the Eldar would cause the destruction of Kala-Mencha Cain, the god of war. As Lilith was well known for her prophetic visions, Cain took it very seriously and resolved to wipe out the Eldar race rather than letting them destroy him. The ensuing slaughter was of such proportion that Isha, the goddess of life, petitioned Azurian, the Phoenix King and leader of the Eldari pantheon, to have Cain stopped. Breaking this legend down from a secular viewpoint, and with knowledge that the war in heaven was led by the Old Ones, it can be interpreted a little different. Perhaps Lilith, warning the war god Cain that he would be destroyed by the Eldar, was really a military strategist or council that foresaw the enslaver plague and warned Cain, who represented the military leader of the Old Ones. Cain's decision to destroy the Eldar might be interpreted as the rash decision to exterminate the warrior race in order to prevent the enslaver plague from destroying the Old Ones. Isha petitioning Azurian to stop Cain could be the head biological engineer who originally created the Eldar, petitioning the ruler or leader of the Old Ones to stop the extermination of the warrior race she gave life to. This gesture could have been seen as Isha showing love towards her creation and convincing Azurian that if they turned their guns on their warrior races, there would be no one left to fight the Necrons. The myth goes on to say that Azurian sided with Isha and created a barrier between the Eldari and their gods, forever separating the two and decreeing that no god should intervene or communicate with the Eldari ever again, thus creating a barrier that separated the physical universe with the immaterium. This could have been Azurian ordering the Old Ones into the webway in order to stay safe from the enslavers that were using their creations as portals into the material realm, thus keeping their people safe and leaving the warrior survival up to fate. Using the webway for protection is similar to what the Dark Eldar would do during the birth of Slaanesh. The myth then goes on to tell on how this was too much for Isha and her consort, Cornus, the god of the hunt. Isha and Cornus loved their children, the Eldari, and could not bear to separate from them. They approached Vol, the smith god, with their woes, and the kind Vol agreed to help them. With Vol's aid, they forged spirit stones from Isha's tears, through which mortal Eldari could communicate with the gods. With these stones, Isha and Cornus continued to teach and mentor their mortal children in secrecy. This can easily be seen as Isha and Cornus lamenting over abandoning their creations and defying Azurian's order by attempting to continue to help the Eldar in the war in heaven against the Necrons and the enslavers. Vol is more likely one of the Old Ones' head engineers, also sympathetic to aiding the warrior races and assisting Isha in creating the Spirit Stones. With the Spirit Stones, the Old Ones gave the Eldar the gift of immortality, a defining feature of the ancient race. The legend goes on to say that one day Cain stumbled upon Isha and Cornus as they communicated with the Eldar, and took the information straight to Azurian. Though Azurian was sympathetic with Isha and Cornus, they had broken his law, and he reluctantly decreed that the two gods would be given over to Cain to do with what he wished. This part of the myth could be showing how there were two sentiments as to the way the Eldar should be treated by the Old Ones. While Isha, Cornus, and Vol were interested in the Eldar survival, Cain and Azurian were not. Azurian allowing Cain to punish Isha and Cornus falls in line with what any empire would do when facing those that defied orders. But it also shows how Azurian had internal conflict as to the way the Eldar and the other warrior races were being treated during the enslaver plague. He understood that Isha and Cornus' actions had merit, If the Old Ones truly cared about preserving life to the point of going to war with the Necrons, who wanted to end all life, then they shouldn't turn their backs on the Eldar. In the myth, Cain is allowed to torture Isha and Cornus in a burning pit until Vol, moved by their plight, struck a bargain with the war god to craft 100 enchanted swords, known as the Blades of Vol, for him in 1 year's time. In exchange, Cain promised to release his fellow gods from their prison in his realm. In reality, this shows you how Vol understood that Cain did not fully agree with Asuryan's plan to pull back from the war in heaven, and by promising him the Blades of Vol, he could convince him to free Isha and Cornus in exchange for support and the weapons to fight the Necrons and the enslavers. These blades are in fact the weapons, similar to the Blackstone fortresses, that Abaddon would find scattered throughout the galaxy and then use them in his Black Crusades. We know this because of hints found in the Blackstone fortresses themselves. It is said that Vol worked long and hard at his task and managed to forge all of the blades by the deadline, except for one, which lay unfinished on his anvil. In order to trick Cain, Vol substituted the last blade with a mortal one, which he delivered to the war god, who released his 2 captives. The 3 gods quickly departed, but Cain was quick to discover the trickery and cried out in rage. He called the smith god a cheat and vowed revenge. He immediately set off to track down Vol and make him pay. This shows how at this point, Isha, Cornus, and quite possibly even Vol did not care about continuing the war in heaven, whether because it was a war they had lost hope in, or it was a war they believed could not be won. Either way, Vol's unfinished fortress was enough to cause Cain to pursue the 3 of them in the hopes of punishing them for lying about continuing the fight. It is said that Asuryan himself never took a side, watching the carnage impassively, slowly coming to regret his hasty decision in sentencing Isha and Cornus to Cain's tender mercy. This again shows the internal conflict of Asuryan as a leader. When faced with the Necron threat and the enslaver plague, instead of finding a solution, his actions led to a civil war amongst his own people, and now he was going to add to that by not choosing a side. In the myth, Vol reforged the final sword, the one that he had failed to finish for Cain. The greatest of all, he called it Anaris. Armed with this weapon, Vol strode forth to do battle with Cain. It was a long, hard-fought struggle, but even with Anaris, Vol was no match for the war god. Cain cast down Vol, maiming the smith, and bound Vol to his own anvil. However, the falcon, consort of the great hawk, who had fought for Vol, took up the sword Anaris and delivered it to Eldanesh, the greatest warrior and leader of the mortal Eldar. With Anaris in hand, Eldanesh of the Red Moon took up the fight and faced Cain in single combat. Eldanesh fought well, but in the end, he too was defeated by Cain, his body crushed by the god of war. As Cain slew Eldanesh, his hand began to drip with red blood. Forever after, he would become known as Kalamensha Cain, which means Cain, the bloody-handed, in the Eldari lexicon. This shows the complete collapse of unity amongst the Old Ones. At this point, they were more interested in fighting each other than they were fighting any other threat. It also shows how the Eldar, for the first time, used their creator's weapons against them. The legend concludes that by this time, Asuryan had had enough. He saw the slaughter and proclaimed the war in heaven over. Cain had gained his vengeance and left the field satisfied. We know now that the Old Ones eventually admitted defeat and left the galaxy. Just as Asuryan called an end to the war in heaven, the Old Ones ended their war with the Necrons and left the warrior races alone. But the history of the war in heaven, from Isha's attempt to save the Eldar to the epic rivalry between Vol and Cain, these stories were to be told and retold by the Eldar over and over again, and with every generation the tales of the war in heaven lost more and more facts and became more and more mythical, until the heroes of these now legends were not remembered as reptilian Old Ones, but were instead described as ancient Eldar gods. A similar fate has befallen the Emperor of Mankind. He once walked amongst man as a powerful sorcerer with flawed goals, but now his story has become myth to the point where humanity sees him as a god, but can't agree on an accurate depiction of what he looked like. Perhaps this is an unavoidable flaw in sentient beings. They want to create myths out of the lives of those that came before them, with each generation over-embellishing the stories until they are no longer retellings of events, but allegories barely connected to reality. But as we know, the Eldar race was so psychically powerful, their beliefs and emotions were inadvertently taking shape in the Immaterium. Just like they would give birth to Slaanesh in the future, the Eldar's belief in the god Isha, Cain, and the rest of the Eldari pantheon was made manifest sometime during their rise in power, which is why these gods are referred to as minor or lesser gods of chaos in the 40k lore. From Segra to the Avatar of Cain, all of these Eldar gods are the manifestation of the Eldari's idealization of the ancient Old Ones. And just as the religion of the Eldar created their own gods, the religion of humanity is creating the God Emperor. While humanity is not as psychically powerful as the Eldar, there are trillions more humans than Eldar, and their collective veneration of the Emperor is like a massive fire, forging the God Emperor in the Immaterium. The more the belief grows, the faster the emotions coalesce in the warp. It is the Imperial Creed, the religion created by Lorgar and spread by the Ecclesiarchy, that is turning the Emperor into a god of chaos. And those were 40 facts on proof that the Emperor is becoming a god. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, share it with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, whatever social media you guys use. It helps out the channel when you do so, and then it brings in more people to actually make theories about this and nitpick on the actual facts that is presented in the lore and that is showing us the Emperor becoming a god. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys, there's way more that I want to talk about on this topic just because the Emperor becoming a chaos god, and he also has a physical form which is on the Golden Throne, and I want to get into the specifics of how ICGW, based on the lore that they've already given us, what they're going to do with that whole thing. So subscribe to the channel for that video. I couldn't get to it right now just because I'm running out of time. I know I'm not going to be able to upload by the time that I want to upload this video if I continue. So expect that video pretty soon, probably in this month of November. Thank you guys for all the support. Thank you to our patrons. It is because of our patrons that we can do videos like this, so thank you guys so much ahead of time. Also, if you guys want to support, link in the description. It's just $1 a month, and that dollar helps us create videos like this, and then just helps us just put out as much content as we do. So thank you guys for supporting us on there. If you guys have any comments as to my interpretation of the Eldar mythology of the War in Heaven connected to the actual War in Heaven, please comment down in the comment section below. There was a lot of things that I missed or that I didn't include in this just because I wanted to get the point across, and I also didn't want this video to be crazy long. But yeah, I would love to hear your nitpicking. Comment down in the comment section below, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. This was Gershwin with One Mind Syndicate signing out.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.